Clemson, in 10 years before I got there, had not scored a touchdown. Not a touchdown, not one in 10 years playing Florida State. Is the most ruthless, cold-blooded rivalry in college football.
You took Tulane to 11-0 season, but you didn't stick around for the Liberty Bowl. If you love Tulane so much, why did you leave it? It's my honor today to get to talk to this man. He has coached for over 30 years, has coached with some legendary coaches like Pat Dye and his father, Bobby Bowden. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Tommy Bowden. Tommy, how you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an honor. Look, you was born right here in the state of Alabama, and you coached at Auburn at 2 different occasions. One with Doug Barfield, am I correct? And Pat Dye.
1980. Yeah.
That's
right.
And Pat Dye, and of course your younger brother Terry. A lot of people are going to want me to ask you this. How's Terry doing?
He's doing good. He up at the University of Louisiana Monroe, and my father coached till he was 80. Terry might coach till he's 80. He's 66 right now and still going strong. I got out at 54, but Terry's doing well. Thanks for asking.
There can be better, but you have done something nobody else can do, and no one will ever take it. You'll be the benchmark that they look to. And then one more thing. Absolutely. Today I became an Auburn man.
I didn't want to, but
I didn't.
The cool thing about you, Tommy, is that you're not just a football coach. You're a man of God. You walk with Jesus in your heart, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. How important was your faith in recruiting?
Well, it was important to me, number one, whether I would have been recruiting or not. I'd like to think that I continue to pursue a daily personal walk with Jesus Christ. But I found out coaching in the South, I spent most of my time coaching in the South, that, they don't call the South the Bible Belt for a reason. They call it Bible Belt for a reason. And usually in recruiting process, there was usually a member of a prospect's family that was a regular church attender, was Christian, it was important to them, and they had that influence in the family. So for me to bring up my faith, which I would have done regardless, it's helpful in the South in recruiting, because I think religion is such a big part of the culture in the South.
A lot of people don't know this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. But while doing my research, I found this out for the very first time. You not only coached with your father, you played under him. What was it like playing under Bobby Bowden?
Back, of course, when I played, he didn't have the name that he had toward the end of his career. I can remember playing television games, and they called him Bowden, Bobby Bowden, instead of Bobby Bowden. So, it wasn't a big issue. Now, what was difficult is the fact that I walked on and had to earn a scholarship. And I can remember him telling me, he said, "Son, your performances are going to have to be above and beyond a scholarship player, because you're my son, and you don't want to look like you're playing favorites." So it was a little bit more difficult. But when I finally did start my redshirt junior year, which is my father's last year, we went to a bowl game, won games, and so when I did get to play, we had success, which made it easier. And but I had a really enjoyable playing career for my father.
What was it like coaching for him?
It's just when you're a young guy that wants to go and coach, and I knew I wanted to go into coaching since about 6th grade. And when I got through playing, I just tried to become a sponge and absorb as much information as possible. And I was very lucky that as a young graduate assistant, I spent about 4 years with him. So, man, I was just trying to absorb as much as I could. And as his career has been proven, he's one of the best to ever do it. So it was very helpful and productive to me. Even when I became older as a head coach, we would call and exchange information not X and O information, game plan information, because I played him, but how long are you practicing? How much hitting are you doing? What are you doing about dehydration? What are you doing about discipline? How you handling media and all that stuff, staff morale, team morale. So I got a lot of information from him, not only early in my career, but throughout my career.
As a head coach, Clemson and Florida State, y'all played each other 9 times. Right. I think Bobby, I call him Bobby. if your father was alive right now, he'd probably slap me. Coach Bowden, when you played against Coach Bowden, I believe it was 5-4. He beat
5-4. He won 5. I
was it?
Yeah,
that totally came out the top of my head. All right, so he beat you 5-4. On those weeks you played Florida State, what was it like? I'm sure y'all talked about it many times during that time y'all played each other, but what's some of the behind the scenes stuff that went on between you and your father when you had to play each other?
The first year was really the most unusual year because it had never been done in the history of Division I-A football. Florida State, the first year I played them, won the national championship and went undefeated. It was my first year at Clemson, first time ever. ESPN, of course, got involved, and it was called the Bowden Bowl, and father and son had never played each other. The most unusual thing about that game, especially the first year, is my sports information director, a guy named Tim Ray, came to me the week before we were playing Georgia Tech, and he said, listen, the media request there's been such a high demand, you're going to have to do Florida State interview before we play Georgia Tech. And which is, coach, you hate to do that. But the demand was so high. So I would actually, reserve about 30, 40 minutes a day before we're getting ready to play Georgia Tech and have to go talk Florida State football, which is very uncomfortable. But the press was in such high demand. And once that first game is over, then it's just and as you prepare for it, it's just another game. And in that particular time, Clemson, Florida State was the Clemson of nowadays. They were the best team, had the best players. Right. So it was preparation was hard.
Any trash talking?
Between the players, there was a whole bunch.
No. I'm talking about because I know the relationship between my dad. We're competitive. I mean, not competitive like, I want to beat my dad. But I'll tell you a story. Growing up, my dad had these big arms. And we would arm wrestle each other, and he would beat me every single time. And one day, I think 2007, 2008, for the first time in my whole life, I beat him in arm wrestling to the point where to this day, he denies it. So my question is, was it trash talking? Did he want to? I know he did. Bobby Bowden did not want to lose to any coach, but was it some kind of like, oh, I don't want to lose to my son? And then, of course, you were like, I don't want to lose to my dad. Was there any of that?
Well, there's, from a coaching perspective, for a young, I say young, at that particular time, I've been a head coach at Tulane for 2 years. Clemson was my first year there, was my third year as a head coach. He was a Hall of Famer. And in order to establish credibility in the coaching profession, you have to beat guys like that. When I was at South Clemson, Coach Spurrier and Coach Holtz were the head coaches at South Carolina. Those were Hall of Fame coaches. So it wasn't so much I need to beat my father as I think it gave you credibility when you beat guys like that. So it was more professional advancement, if that's the right word to use, as opposed to beating your father. Yeah, you like to beat your father. You go on family vacation, you got all your nieces and nephews and everybody's around the table, and you can walk in there with your chest bounced out if you won. But he won the first 4 in a row. I didn't win. I won the last 4 out of 5, so I was pretty humbled in the first few years.
Yeah, but that first time was the best time, wasn't it?
Yeah, 17-14 the first year. We had him 14-3 at halftime, and that was probably the best. Of course, that was the best game for him because he won. I like the one where they were third in the nation and we upset them. I like that one better, but he likes that first one better.
As I recall that game, I could be wrong. My memory could be short. It could have been another game, but you look kind of excited when you beat him.
What did you just say to your father?
I asked him if he did that on purpose.
You just upset the number 3 team in the country, beat your dad for the first time ever.
Our players never quit. Players played hard.
Last question for you. With With this win, do you make a statement and quiet the talk about job security, Coach?
That's up to the president.
Well, yeah. There's always when you lose 4 in a row. I didn't realize till I went to Clemson, but Clemson in 10 years before I got there had not scored a touchdown. Not a touchdown, not one in 10 years playing Florida State. Now that's I should say that's 5 trips to Tallahassee. They hadn't scored a touchdown in Tallahassee in 10 years, which was 5 trips. So, there's is some excitement because their track record was not good. Clemson's was not good against Florida State, and then to end up beating them 4 out of 5 was quite an accomplishment.
That brings me to an interesting question I was going to say for later, but I'll go ahead and ask you now. Would it be fair to say that you laid the groundwork for what Clemson is today?
Oh, I think history will have to go back and look at that. I think one of the things you like to ask yourself as a coach when you leave a program is, did you leave it in better shape than when you found it? They had won 3 games a year before I got there. We improved facilities. I think Dabo moved into a $50 million indoor facility 6 months after he got the job. So we had been working on that. When I first got there, we only had 1 player drafted in the first 3 years that I was at Clemson. So, and we ended up by getting 5, 6, 7, 8 drafted. So I think we improved it, but history will say, well, how much better was the program after Coach Bowden left? I know Dabo has surely taken it to another level that right now is one of the top programs in the country.
When you talk about Tommy Bowden in South Carolina, people still love you.
Well, they usually like you after you're gone, and the longer you're gone, the more they like you. That's what I found out. But yeah, I think we did a good. Every coach's desire, ambition, and vision is to do what Nick Saban's doing and what Dabo's doing. That's every coach's dream. Sometimes timing's not right, and that's there's not enough room up for that for everybody to accomplish that. It's too hard to do. So. Yeah, you feel disappointment that you didn't achieve the success as a coach you wanted at Clemson. But again, you're proud of laying some foundational blocks, which Dabo excelled at and took to another level. So there was a sense of accomplishment. But every coach wants to do what Nick Saban and Dabo's doing right now, and you feel a little defeated if you don't. But I think that's par for the course in coaching profession.
What was your time at Alabama like?
Oh, being born in Birmingham, Alabama, and wanting to go into coaching, you say, man, your dream, your goal, your vision is to get to Alabama or Auburn. One of those two. Those are just that's the mecca of college football, man. It's God invented it down in the state of Alabama.
Roll Tide.
He invented those 2 schools to play it. So he
invented. Hold on. He invented Alabama. Auburn just got. I don't know where Auburn came from.
People ask me, which did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy Alabama or Auburn? And you enjoy the one the most that's paying the bills, paying your mortgage, paying your grocery. So I got a feeling if Auburn was writing you a check, you like that orange and blue a little bit better than you do. That's usually the way it goes.
I was going to ask you, what was your favorite place to coach? I guess. Well, you know what? Hey, you said it. Okay. I'm not going to ask you who was the highest paying school. I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite place to coach at? Was it Duke, Florida State? Was it Alabama, man. Kentucky, Tulane, Clemson, West Virginia? Florida State.
Yeah, those are, man, they're great schools. Those are kind of the.
You only pick one. Come on,
I know it. But like a typical politician, I'll find a way to filibuster you and talk about it. Well, that's one thing about recruiting. When you recruit players, when you walk out of a player's home, that player must feel like he's the most important player to the Clemson program. He's the most important player you're recruiting. So when I talk about the schools I've coached, when I talk about it, you're going to think that it's the best one out there. But, I was a young coach at Duke. I was in my early 20s, and those guys played hard. They'd do what you wanted to do and run through a wall for it. I enjoyed those years. But being from Birmingham, the Alabama and Auburn experience was really, really good. Clemson was Clemson is, as they say, Auburn with a lake, but a great environment, great tradition, great passion. And Florida State was like that, and West Virginia is a young player going back to alma mater. I hate to say it, even Kentucky. I was only there 1 year, but enjoyed it. So if I had to pick one, it might be the 2 years at Tulane, simply because it's my first coaching experience. It's my first head coaching experience. Mm-hmm. We achieved something they've never done, 11-0 season. We only played 11 games back then, 12 winning a bowl game. But it's done something they've never done, been undefeated, run the table. Tulane was LSU was down. A guy named Jerry DiNardo was the head coach. The Saints were down. Ditka was there at the time, and Tulane was winning. Yeah, so you're talking about it, and that's New Orleans is a great sports town, pro, college, high. It is a big sports town. It's got great food, and I like football and food, so that might be at the top.
Well, I had to ask you this, and if you love Tulane so much, why did you leave it?
You know, Tulane actually offered more money than what Clemson did, so it wasn't financial as it was. I felt like we were capped. You know, we'd reached the mountaintop, and I felt like I didn't have the money. They paid me well, but I didn't know if I had the money to retain assistants. You know, assistant coaches are so important because a coach, you're pulled in so many ways, and I didn't know if I had the financial resources. They scraped up enough money to pay me what Clemson was, but could they support my assistant coaches? And then we were averaging maybe 17,000, 15,000. Clemson average 80. You know, it's just taking a step. You want to grow one program, or do you want to go to a program that's already grown? And so I made that choice. Thought it was a little more stable in a long-term effect at Clemson than it would be at Tulane.
Tell me what college football fans don't understand. Personally for me, no disrespect to any coach. I'm just going to say what I felt. I am not a Bobby Petrino fan whatsoever for what he did to the Atlanta Falcons. I don't like coaches that just get up and leave and don't finish what they started.
A season that couldn't get much worse for Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank did just that when head coach Bobby Petrino abruptly resigned Tuesday.
I think the best way to describe the way that we feel is betrayed and let down.
You took Tulane to 11-0 season, but you didn't stick around for the Liberty Bowl. What part of this that fans are not understanding? Why do coaches have to just say, "Hey, okay, I got accepted this job," instead of coaching my last game and finishing what I started? Why go get up and leave and go to the new program?
Well, I think every environment is a little bit different. In my environment, particularly, when I went in and talked to the athletic director, told her I was going to leave, we discussed staying for the bowl game. Mm-hmm. She was not in favor of it, and neither was I. We were both in agreement. My philosophy was that, hey, I've committed to Clemson. Clemson is paying me money. I need to go work for the person that's paying me money. The other thing you think about is distraction. All the articles are going, if you stay or leave, but if you stay, you know, it's all going to be about you, you know. And then I had a guy named Rich Rodriguez on the staff, and he was getting the job supposedly. So I felt like it was an easy transition, and the team would not suffer. He was so actively involved in the offense as offensive coordinator and play caller that they wouldn't miss anything. So I felt with the AD's thoughts and then who's paying my salary, Clemson, and then with Rich Rodriguez there, I thought the transition to me would have been easy. Every environment's different, but that's kind of what went into my Clemson paying my salary. Let me go get to work for Clemson recruiting, and then of course Rich was there, very capable of coaching in the bowl game, which he did, and they beat Brigham Young rather significantly.
All right, let's talk about, because I'm one of the biggest Alabama football fans of all time. 1993, you was an offensive coordinator, and Auburn got put on restrictions. And everybody who lived in the state of Alabama can remember this, because this was the year that we could not watch the Iron Bowl on TV. How upsetting was it knowing that your football team could not be – not one, was not considered to be a national champion, and 2, couldn't get TV time.
Well, it's more disappointing for the players. As coaches, I've been on TV before, and so had most of the coaches at other schools. Right. So the biggest thing, you really had to keep the players' attention, and you can either use it as a plus or a negative. I think Terry, my brother, who was the head coach at the time, did a good job of using that as a positive. Said, hey, it's us against the world. They don't want to see you. They don't know how good you are. Nobody believes in you. You play that David and Goliath. Now you just have to play it for about 11 straight weeks. But as we kept winning, you had to find things, because as they got national attention, you couldn't see them. You couldn't reward Auburn by putting them on TV at prime time the next week. So very difficult job motivating your players. It was more difficult, I think, for the players. And then as you get toward the end, you're rolling up those victories and you get nationally ranked, and it becomes the attention of the media. They're not on TV. They can't go. The players rally around that, the us against the world environment, and it really becomes a positive as opposed to a negative.
Which rivalry was more intense, Clemson, South Carolina, or Auburn, Alabama?
It varies. Wherever you're coaching, that rivalry is the most heated. When I was the head coach at Clemson, there's no way I could say Alabama-Auburn was more cold-blooded, because I wanted the ACC to be as significant as the SEC. But now that I'm no longer the head coach of either place, and not in either conference, the Alabama-Auburn is a cold-blooded knockout death game. I mean, if Clemson, South Carolina is you kind of go for a flesh wound, you cut their head off in the daggone Alabama-Auburn game. It is pure hatred, 365 days a year. I've been with the Florida State, the Florida, the Kentucky, Tennessee, the Duke, North Carolina, on down the line. But the Alabama-Auburn, to me, is the most ruthless, cold-blooded rivalry in college football.
We have a gentleman here by the name of Clemson Tom. He's very big in South Carolina, in the Clemson fan base. He's like the ultimate fan. He's been on YouTube, podcast, television. He's actually spitted it on the choo-choo train in South Carolina. He spitted it on the choo-choo train.
Most people don't know what you're talking about, but I do.
Clemson fans are going to see this. One more question. 2004, the big brawl. You and South Carolina coach, I believe it was Steve Spurrier at the time, wasn't it?
No, at that particular time, that brawl, Lou Holtz was the head coach.
Lou Holtz, I apologize.
He had announced his retirement, and he was not going to be the head coach, and we were playing at Clemson.
Okay, both of y'all decided that y'all were not going to go to your bowl game. What made y'all hit that decision?
The administration made the decision. President.
It wasn't you?
No, I would have gone myself.
Right.
But I remember specifically because I remember South Carolina didn't go to a bowl game, but gave their assistant coaches bowl bonuses. And I was making money. I didn't care so much about it for me, but I would like for our administration to do that, because the coaches, coached well enough to earn a bowl trip. And we did not only not go to one, we didn't get paid for a bowl game. And I say we, I'm talking about the assistant coaches. And South Carolina did. Word gets out. South Carolina lost their coach. Those coaches go on the road to recruit each other. They see each other, recruiting the same guy. Conversations come up. And for them to say, well, yeah, we didn't go. We got our bowl bonus, so I had to soothe some egos from my assistant coaches. But I remember the fight game well, because I was sore for about 2 days trying to pull my players off of theirs. But they're 300-pound guys. They don't move easy.
How upset was you with the players?
I was pretty upset. And you never want to justify anything, but we were playing at Clemson, and that's when Clemson runs down that hill, and if the officials let the other team start moseying down and get the bottom of that daggone hill and start waving to them to come down, ACC officials, they know about that environment. They won't let the opposing team come down there. These were SEC officials. It was Lou Holtz's last game. The Friday night before, I don't know if you remember that, they had a basketball brawl where the basketball players went up in the stands, and it was
Yeah.
on TV 24/7. I mean, my players saw it. That's no excuse. I surely don't.
That was you talking about the Pacers and the Pistons.
I forget who it was. I just know it was looped over and over, and my players just
Right.
saw it. Coach Holtz had already announced his retirement, and it was heated. It's a rivalry game, and things. And once those kids start fighting, I was trying to pull them off the best I could. I was disappointed because it surely does not reflect well on the university or yourself as a head coach. But that has happened for years and years in college football, Notre Dame and Southern Cal and Florida State and Miami and Florida State. You go on down the line. I mean, people have done it. It doesn't justify it. Football's a game of emotion, energy, enthusiasm, and you better coach it that way and play it that way. But too much emotion in a fight like that. So it was a bad reflection on myself and the university.
We got some rapid questions, and then we got to let Tommy Bowden go. Tommy, I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Real fast, rapid questions. Terry and Tommy, who's the better coach, and why is it you?
Terry, why is it me?
Yes.
Terry's won more games. You know, my father's won 300 and some games. Terry's won about 130. I've only got 90 wins in about 11 and a half years, so I'm low man on the totem pole in my family when it comes to wins. So if you go strictly on wins and losses, I'm at the bottom of the pile.
Greatest Clemson memory?
You know, probably, should be a couple of them, but probably the greatest would be beating Florida State when they were 3 in the nation. We had struggled with them. They were the Clemson back then, so beating them, I think, would have been the high point of those years at Clemson.
I knew it. Being daddy was always important.
Oh, yeah.
Last question. What is the Bowden family going to be remembered for the most?
You know, I think what you would like to remember is, doing things, making a positive influence, being a positive influence on players. When I went, my father had, when he passed away, had 5 services in 4 days in 2 states, Alabama and Florida. And to hear what players said, Wart Dunn, Charlie Ward, Deion Sanders, Derek Brooks, going on down the line, Mark Rick, hear what coaches and players said about my father that had nothing to do with X's and O's, nothing to do with winning, but a godly man, a godly coach, a godly father, a godly husband, and influences players to be the same thing. I think that's the same type of, that's the environment I was raised in. So that's the legacy that I would like to leave. And you would like to say, hey, when you mention the Bowden name, right now in sports success and the playing the game, the Manning family, by far with what they've accomplished as football players, I would like to think when you say the Bowden family, they've accomplished in wins and losses what the Mannings did in wins with the sport. So.
Thank you for not only what all you do on the football field, but thank you for spreading the word of Jesus. I think that is one of the most important things in the world right now that we need. And you're going out there spreading the word. As I believe, you're an evangelist Christian. Am I correct?
Yeah, I do a lot of Christian speaking and do it
Right.
across the country. So do that a good bit, enjoy doing it. But that's the platform that I have with the coaching profession.
Well, trust me, we need it. We need it more than ever.
Agree.
And thank you for all you do, not only for the sport of football, but for spreading the word. It was my honor and my privilege to talk to the legendary coach Tommy Bowden. And remember, win or lose, if Auburn's not being coached by Bowden, they suck. Catch you next time.